Marco Rubio is an asshole. Hi, thanks for watching. Today is Monday, Mainstream Media Monday, and today I'm going to talk about something that happened over the weekend that involves Marco Rubio and the mainstream media. So, for the past week or so, Rubio has been tweeting nonstop about what's going on in Venezuela. And a tweet that he put out Sunday morning was a before and after picture of Muammar Gaddafi. Now, the before is him looking very sharp in a white suit, just looking like a boss. And the after picture was essentially a still from a snuff film, okay? This was a picture of him bloodied right before he was murdered. And the things that they did to him were unspeakable. I'm not even going to describe them for fear that the video will be taken down. But you can look it up if you want. It was absolutely disgusting what happened to him. We shouldn't do that to the worst people in the world. Just inhumane. But that was essentially, right, that's a death threat to the democratically elected leader of a country. I find this vile and disgusting, especially coming from someone on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. That's his damn job. Foreign relations. This is what he puts out. It is absolutely disgusting. You know, a lot of people, myself included, have an issue with some of the tweets that our president puts out. Sometimes they go a bit too far. Sometimes they're, not presidential. But you can look at every one of the thousands of tweets that Trump has put out. Not one of them as disgusting as this tweet from Marco Rubio. And he's standing behind it. Rubio is standing behind this tweet. He hasn't taken it down. It's still up there for you to see. But to understand this, let's put it in context and talk about what happened in Libya. Okay, Gaddafi was the leader of Libya. The U.S. has had a contentious relationship with him for decades. I remember back in the 80s, Reagan bombed Gaddafi in retaliation for a bombing in Europe. So the U.S. has put up with Gaddafi for decades and decades, and, whatever. Right? That's what it was. But when it was found out that Gaddafi was trying to start his own currency, it was going to be a pan-African currency, gold-backed, called the gold dinar. He'd put away about $7 billion of gold to back this currency, and it would be competition for the U.S. dollar and the euro. Well, we can't have that. That's too far. All the other things, that's acceptable to the U.S. government. But competition for the U.S. dollar, forget it. Like, you can't exist. And so the U.S. backed rebels in Libya, including Al-Qaeda, to take out Gaddafi. And who was our Secretary of State at the time?
Yes, we came, we saw, he died. Did it have anything to...
Now, you can read all about the details. This is all public information. In Hillary's emails, you can read emails from Sidney Blumenthal, her right-hand man, describing all the reasons and the motivations for taking out Gaddafi. This was a neocon war, and in this, the U.S. also used U.S. aid, which is an arm of the U.S. State Department, to bring in humanitarian aid to Libya, also, funding rebels and supporting the rebels. So you could understand why President Maduro might have an issue with U.S. aid coming into Venezuela. He's seen this happen before. It's happened dozens of times. And so if U.S. aid is coming in, you know what's coming afterwards. Anyone that's running a country and they see U.S. aid is coming to give you humanitarian aid, beware, right? That's the last thing you want. And in fact, you would be insane to accept it. But that's not what the mainstream media would have you believe. In my opinion, over 90% of the information that I've seen reported about Venezuela in the last couple weeks by the mainstream media is propaganda and is not to be believed. I could make a series, if people are interested, of every single lie, every single piece of propaganda by the mainstream media about Venezuela. I'm not sure it would have a big audience, but I could do this daily, and it's really unbelievable how the mainstream media is essentially just parroting information from the CIA. Now, you may ask yourself, what does the United States find of interest in Venezuela? Is it really helping out the people? Well, we've heard all about how they're not accepting humanitarian aid. But here's the question. Did you know that they've received tons of humanitarian aid from Russia? That hasn't been reported on MSNBC or CNN. You may be able to find it in a local, Miami report or something like that. But the mainstream media is not talking about all the humanitarian aid outside of the U.S. that's going to Venezuela that is being accepted. The only thing that they're not accepting is humanitarian aid from USAID, again, which is the U.S. State Department. And the fact that they're not telling you that, that's propaganda. Now, why is the U.S. so interested in Venezuela? Well, I made a chart. I looked for a chart, and I couldn't even find one out there on the internet, so I had to make myself a nice, beautiful chart. And this is the top 10 world's biggest oil reserves. This is 2017 U.S. Information Administration. That's the U.S. government. According to the U.S. government, top 10 biggest oil reserves. At number 10, we've got the United States. Above that, we have Libya, Russia, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait. Remember, we went to war in Kuwait in 1990, dealing with oil there. Iraq, that sounds familiar. Iran. Canada. Number 2 in oil reserves is Saudi Arabia. But look at this. The number 1 oil reserve in the history of the world, Venezuela. Well, that's just a little suspicious. But you don't have to take my word for it. You can take the word of National Security Advisor John Bolton. In an interview on Fox Business, he essentially lays out exactly what he wants from Venezuela.
I think we're trying to get to the same end result here. Venezuela is one of the 3 countries I call the troika of tyranny. It'll make a big difference to the United States economically if we could have American oil companies really invest in and produce the oil capabilities in Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of the United States. We both have a lot at stake here, making this come out the right way.
I know this video was kind of all over the place. I may not have done the best job explaining it. But you know who should be good at explaining this? You would think that the mainstream media could explain what's happening in Venezuela, but they're not. They're not. They're choosing to just put out United States State Department talking points. But going back to the beginning of this video, what Marco Rubio did in putting this out is just vile and disgusting. He should resign. We shouldn't accept this behavior from anyone in political office. And the fact that the mainstream media is giving this a pass just shows you exactly whose side they're on. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Peace. Help me reach my goal of 1 million. Make that 4,000 subscribers by hitting the like button and subscribing.